It was my first time docking at Casablanca, and I didn't know what to expect. I knew it wasn't going to be anything like how it was portrayed in the famous Bogart movie. In the same way how I know Venice is never the way how the big screen portrays it. I was waiting for Newport to come back from the gym. I sat in my cabin and had the window channel switched on. The port looked like it needed attention. It looked like a dump. There were piles of scrap everywhere, and the ground looked oily. I was determined not to let the window channel put me off. I would need to give this port a chance. When Newport arrived, she took a long while to get ready, in your typical womanly way. We were finally ready, and we made our way to the gangway. We dropped down to deck 4 and past shopping corridor, past the Warren, then out to the passenger area. The gangway wasn't there, but it was interesting that the carpets were covered in plastic. We made our way up to deck 5 to find the gangway, and there were signs pointing to the midship area. The carpets were still covered in plastic. We made it to the gangway and left the ship. As soon as we stepped foot on the concrete of the dock, I realised why the carpets were covered. The port was covered in oil slicks and grime. I took a whiff of air, and it didn't smell nice at all. I didn't think much of it, and assumed it was probably something lingering from a container. We waited at the shuttle bus pickup points for the bus to arrive. Once we were on the bus, we were advised to keep your expensive belongings hidden and to be vigilant, as pickpocketing was rife in the city. This did not aid me in the confidence of this port, but I just thought to myself, it can't really be that bad. The shuttle bus arrived at the drop-off point, and we exited. It was really hot. Really hot. There were members of the ship's crew in uniform handing out chilled water. Both Newport and I grabbed a cup each and rehydrated. The air was just as pungent as it was dockside. It's probably down to the heat reacting with the sewers, which I guess can't be helped. We found our way to a cafe that accepted euros and found a table outside with the intention of sampling the local cuisine. While we were looking at the menus, we ordered a Coke each, and they came quite quickly. Neither Newport nor I could decide on what we wanted to eat, and while we were mulling it over, a man approached us and opened his jacket. It was lined with watches. "Watches for sale," said the man. I shook my head and said no. As soon as he left us, another man approached us with a bin bag full of cigarettes. "Do you want to buy some cigarettes?" I knew they were fake, and as my stash back on the ship was overflowing with duty-free smokes, I shook my head and said no. As the cigarette man left us, another man approached us straight away and had an outstretched arm covered in belts. "Belts for sale," he said. I was starting to get really pissed off with the interruptions at this point. I hate being harassed, especially when I was hungry. I cut the man a look. "Look, mate, I don't need a belt." The man walked off in a huff and didn't say anything. Another man approached us straight away, and he had his outstretched arm covered in belts. "Belts for sale." I was starting to get really pissed off with the interruptions at this point. I hated being harassed, especially when I was hungry. I cut the man a look. "Look, mate, I don't need a belt." The man walked off in half and didn't say anything on his exit. In annoying fashion, another man approached us, opened up his jacket, and it was full of sunglasses. Both Newport and I were wearing our sunglasses. Newport had a set of Ray-Bans on, and I was wearing my Caribbean de Sols. Before the man could even get a chance to talk, I shot him down with, "Does it look like we need sunglasses, mate?" The man cut me a filthy look, closed his jacket and stormed off. Another man approached us and tried to sell us silk headscarves. I repeatedly head-butted the table, saying, "Why? Why? Why?" I didn't look up, but Newport tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I was okay. "Is he gone yet?" I said. "Yes," Newport, as she touched my arm supportively. "Then I'm okay," I said. 5 minutes passed harassment-free, and I was halfway through my Coke. Neither Newport nor I could decide on what to eat. Then we approached once more. This time, a man came up to us wearing dirty, ragged clothes. The man was unwashed, and there was something wrong with his arm. I did a double take with his arm, as I couldn't believe what I was looking at. This man, for some reason, has an empty carton of silk-cut cigarettes taped around his wrist, and he pulled out a handful of tissue packets from his jacket pocket. Was this man trying to sell me snot rags? I thought to myself. Fucking snot rags. That's it, I shouted. It was rant time. I can live with the sun heating the sewer stench. I could live with being harassed by people trying to sell me shit that I don't want. But I cannot live with this. Come on, babes, we're going back to the ship. I downed the rest of my coat, slammed it on the table, then grabbed Newport by the arm and marched us back to the shuttle bus pickup point. This was my first and last time ashore in Casablanca, and it lasted all of 50 minutes, and not a minute longer.